All right. Give everyone a second here to roll on in. Good morning, everybody. I'm Tim, and there's Mark. Everyone knows Mark's face by now. That's got a
Well,
lot of beard hair on there now, so I don't know. Out in public, people might not recognize you.
I won't recognize myself when I cut all this stuff off on January 1st. I'll have to reintroduce myself to myself.
Well, as always, we appreciate everyone joining us. We've had Claire Raphael's here with us. Claire is just a few minutes behind here, so she's going to be joining here shortly. But we figured we'd roll into the podcast and get everybody in here and get started. And Mark, I'm going to go ahead and play our little intro video here.
Okay. Thanks again to Bob Wilson and WorkersComp.com.
That's right. All right, everyone should see that, actually. I'm just going to keep doing this, going bounce back and forth here. I got to share my computer audio. I always forget to do that, so. All right, and here we go. All right.
Thanks for the salsa from Miami.
Yeah, baby.
I love
You notice I didn't try to dance.
Yeah.
I did.
The head nod is about as good as I can get.
That's right. Well, again, like I said, I'm Tim Bennock from QLI.
And I am Mark Pugh from Preferred Medical, and we are
Between
Two Coasts.
There it is.
We swore that we would do better this time.
I'm going to just blame it on the virtual setting. It's just typical.
The entire thing today.
I even slowed it down. Between Two Coasts. Hey, Claire.
There you go. So I have my glitter suit for you guys.
Oh,
Wow.
there it is.
Glitter suit. Woohoo!
One of my adjusters, Jessica Belknap, I'm sharing this out with you. She says that I basically say you can throw a suit coat on anything. So I'm going to throw it on a glitter swimsuit today and be business professional.
Wow.
Great. So
I wish I had some sunglasses. That's kind of bright. The obvious question is, Raphael, where is your glitter suit?
It's coming. It's coming, guys. It's coming.
Don't stand up. We don't.
I can send you this one if you want to borrow it.
Oh my thunder! That was gonna be.
Yeah.
Hi, Tim.
That's
Good
awesome.
morning.
Good morning. I love it.
Raphael in a dress is something that. Yeah. No. Okay.
There could be an audience out there. We don't know. I mean, hey.
Oh, it could be.
I was getting dressed this morning and my daughter's like, what are you wearing? I was like, it's my new glitter swimsuit. And she's like, for work? I was like, well, we're talking about having fun in a suit. They didn't decide what type of suit. They just said suit. So I'm going to do swimsuit.
That's right. That's right.
Good
Please
point.
don't wear that in front of me ever again. It's okay. It's going to Raphael's house next anyway. It'll be fine.
Isn't that a kind of a sad commentary where your teenage daughter is the voice of reason in your house?
Yes, on a regular basis. Yeah, a little bit.
That is awesome.
A little
Oh,
bit.
amazing.
So I really
Well,
should
thank you
just
both.
put on some Ugg boots and drive her to school.
Yeah,
Hey.
you should.
Oh, that's all good.
Awesome. Well, you missed our intro video. Again, shout out to Bob Wilson for putting that together with us. And welcome to everyone to episode 3. As the description said, when you signed up, we're just really trying to replicate virtually what we've done in person for years. So have a catch up, an informal discussion with colleagues that have become friends. And so the biggest difference here, obviously, is that we're not in a conference hallway, as we all would have been multiple times throughout this year, but more in a Zoom call setting. So That being said, we can't just yell at you to bring you into the conversation. So we do ask that you engage us through the chat function. So that is available for you. So all of us, Raphael, Claire, you guys have access to that as well. And Mark and I will be monitoring it. But if you pop in there and see that somebody said something, just feel free to kind of call them out and chat with them. So today's theme, as Claire has introduced to us, is having fun in a suit. And myself and Mark, when we think of fun, we think of our two guests today. So Mark, I'll let you get started with an introduction.
Yeah, we're very happy to have Claire Musselman of Continental Western Group and Rafael Gonzalez of Caddy and Gonzalez with us. For those of y'all that have attended a conference in the past decade, you've probably had a Ralphie taken with Rafael. Although that almost sounds like some kind of food poisoning kind of thing. It's his version of a selfie along with a non-COVID hug. And if you've been on LinkedIn at all over the past year, it's absolutely impossible not to see Claire because she's on there consistently and constantly. Both of them gave incredibly poignant People's Choice Award talks last week at the Comp Laude. Claire ultimately won. Both of them, both Raphael and Claire, were just amazing. I'm not crying. And one thing that you might not know is that this session actually includes 3 Magna Comp Laude award winners from Comp Laude. I won it in 2016, Raphael won it in 2019, and Claire won it last week for 2020. So Tim, you need to.
I need to step up my game. I know.
Yeah. One other thing that you might not know also that's just kind of recent news is that Claire just launched a podcast called Adjusted with Greg Hamlin.
Yep.
It dropped on Monday with their episode, their first season episodes. And Raphael and Yvonne Guibert are launching Deconstructing Comp, or I like to call it Blowing Up Comp. And that's going to happen starting in January 2021. So we've got some competitors on the line here, but I think we all kind of touch on different things in these different podcasts. And so we're really excited to have them. But as transparent as both of them are, and if you know either one of them, there aren't a lot of secrets, but there's got to be at least one thing that people don't know about you yet. So Claire, is there one thing that you have not shared with the general population that your daughter would allow you to share?
Yeah, so we were actually talking about this. We chatted with my aunt. My daughter just turned 12, so she just had her birthday. And we were talking about something, and my aunt said, well, what's been your favorite birthday so far? And my daughter said, the one where my mom doesn't get injured. So at my daughter's 8th birthday, I had a trimalleolar fracture at the Get Air trampoline park. Compound fracture, three bones. It was pretty gnarly, but so it was right at the end of the birthday party. So then my daughter's friends also got to meet the fire department and got to tour the fire truck and the ambulance. So it was really like 3 birthday parties in one. But no,
you are
so
a glass half full kind of person. So
I've broken 19 bones in 8 years. I don't know a lot of people that can top that. And they've all been, it's not a bone density thing. It's just, what did my doctor call it? She called it an adrenaline style lifestyle. That's what it is. So I would really like to not do that anymore. Starting to get sore.
Well, when you get old like me, you just decide what you can't do and just don't do it anymore. So the adrenaline related stuff is probably something that you need to back off on.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Raphael, how about you, ma'am?
Let's see here. Like you said, I'm an open book, so lots of out there, lots of stuff about me out there. But maybe folks don't know that all through junior high, high school, and some into college, I played competitive tennis. Yep, imagine all of this, right?
Me too.
No, I know, Claire. I know that you're a tennis player.
I love that.
I was, in typical Florida, a baseliner on the clay with lots of moon balls, a lot of drop shots. I was a tactician, I looked at the other guy and whatever he couldn't do, that's what I was going to hit.
That's awesome.
So, still play a little, but no more competitive today.
So that's so funny. That's how I kicked off my broken bones. I was playing adult professional tennis for USTA, and we were at regionals. and I missed, somebody had hit an overhead, and I'm a net game. So you and I would be great doubles partners. And I went to try and hit an overhead, and I was like, nope, I'm going to switch it into a forehand. And I just like ankle gone. And that was the beginning of the end. Trying to stay healthy and active, Mark. That's what this is.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think of tennis as a contact sport, but I guess, you know, you can turn it into whatever you want to. I played the ball a lot, and there was never a ball I could never get, which meant that I ran into the wall a lot. And I eventually had to stop doing that. Of course, I also couldn't get anybody to play with me because I kept hitting them in the back of the head on my kind of on mistake, kind of, you know, on purpose, but you know.
That's awesome. Well, Rafael, I did get an insider tip from someone named Tom Glasson in the industry. He told me that he thinks it's true, or asking you if it's true, if you put on a clean suit and tie before you go to sleep every night. So that could be something that everyone doesn't know as well.
If Lisa was here, she would say, absolutely, baby. Chris, oh yeah, baby.
I love it. I knew Tom said that to me, and I was like, I'm absolutely going to call Rafael out on that.
Ralph, do you have your student tie? Well, yeah, of course. Who doesn't out there, right?
99.9% everybody else.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both for sharing a little bit of something that someone may not know about you. And so the reason having fun in a suit and bringing both of you on here is to talk more about the work comp being a family. It includes people from different backgrounds and passions. Sometimes it includes colleagues, and other times it includes competitors. Mm-hmm. And so the time we spend together can be serious or fun. And sometimes in the same conversation, it's both. And that's what makes this industry so amazing and this family so amazing. But in many cases, especially with the both of you, it becomes friendships. And those friendships tend to be fostered through many years in the industry. And Rafael, I was hoping you could kind of kick us off today and ask you, why is that? Why do you think the work comp family is so important?
So I think workers' compensation, you know, there aren't just many systems out there that take almost all components of professional life in one little, you know, concrete sampling of it. And comp does that. When you think about all of the social factors, you know, certainly monetary benefits, medical care, voc rehab experts, nurse case managers, all kinds of legal components to it, all of it wrapped up into one. So it allows for a lot of different professionals, a lot of different experts, a lot of different components of the universe, if you will, to come together and work, you know, within this little system that we've got. And it is, at the end of it, at the heart of it, all about helping that injured worker. You know, he got up this morning, kissed the family, went off to work, and something horrific happened. And so trying to help that individual, you know, with a process and a system that they have no idea what it's like, through a process that can be frustrating at times, and they feel out of control of it. So making sure that that individual feels as comfortable as possible, understands the process and the system, and ends up making sure that his or her life is back together again. To me, that's what holds us all together. That's the glue. And I'm attracted to, I've always been to folks who are dedicated to that, who make it their focus, who absolutely every single day do all that they possibly can to help and assist in making that process and the system better. And fortunately for all of us in this industry, there's a lot of folks. We are so blessed with so many folks around the country who do that every single day. So what an incredible honor, what an incredible pleasure for me to have been here for 35 years and to get to know so many folks who are committed to doing that every day. I feel like the luckiest man in the universe to have found a profession, an area that we have so many folks who really aim to do well, good work every single day.
Agreed. Claire, how about yourself? What do you think makes this family so different and special?
I think that it's the authenticity that we all bring. Like Raphael said, we're all here to collectively make an injured worker's life better. And a lot of times that's focused on with empathy. And I've seen this in different industries or just you guys can think about people that are outside of the workers' compensation industry. There is there's a strong disconnect between work life and personal life. And I don't see that as much with us. Like, we are who we are at our true core. Like, if you see me out on the street, I'm going to be the same way. I'm going to be rocking my glitter swimsuit and my Ugg boots, taking my daughter to school. But I think that that's one of the different components in this, is that we really are our authentic, transparent selves, so that we can really humanly connect to everyone, so that we can really understand what people are going through. And we can relate to, like Raphael said, kissing your kids in the morning. Well, what if you can't get out of bed because you're in pain, or you've got other things that are going on where you really physically can't get out of bed because of a work injury or whatnot? We really empathize with that and try to understand what it would be like if we were in their shoes, and then collectively come together. And when we talk about being friends with our competitors, absolutely. What can you do to push me to make me better? And what can I do to help you? Or what's worked for us with injured workers that could also work for you? And I think we really take it to that core of knowing that all of us have a story, and every injured worker that we get is another story in our world and in our book, or a chapter in our book, that it's our job to help find the best way possible to make things better for them and make them feel more whole. And we do that through our connecting with one another, as well as with our injured workers, so that we can collectively get people back to their life and feel that they are seen, heard, acknowledged, and matter.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting that the People's Choice Awards, y'all both were very transparent in your backgrounds. Raphael was an immigrant from Cuba that came through Spain into the United States. Claire, you're a foster child that was adopted by a family. So your ideas of family are different maybe than a number of people that haven't lived that experience. Does that impact, to your way, kind of where you're coming from and where you've been and what you've done? Does that make the family kind of passion, everything that y'all talked about, does that make it even more intense for you guys, given your background? Or is it just something that just kind of, because we all kind of grew up in the industry. I mean, Raphael and I have been in it long enough where, it was still called workman's comp. We were saying before we got started that, I've got a shirt that's at least as old as Tim is. So, I've been around for a while, and Raphael has as well. And we've gotten to know each other just by virtue of showing up at the same time. But do you think that how you grew up and your personal experiences have impacted or influenced how you think of it as terms of a family?
Raphael, you can go first.
Thanks, Claire. It definitely has for me, Mark. It's we left Cuba fully knowing. I mean, and I get emotional about it because when I think of my mom, and I think of a young woman who by herself, fully knowing, was never going to see her family again, and she gives up everything so that her two boys can grow up in freedom, and they can go to school and they become someone. So when someone does that, when someone sacrifices their entire life, their entire history, their entire family, so that we could grow up, in this country, it does it to my core, and I live that every single day. I know what it's like, right, to be alone and to enter a new country and a new world where you know no one, and you absolutely, you don't know the language, you don't know the customs, you have absolutely no idea of the expectation and what's next, and the fear that creates, right? And sometimes, the heartaches and the challenges that produces. Sometimes the failure that you must go through in order to eventually win. Having known all of that, I bring that with me every single day to whatever I do. And so when I decided, to enter the workers' comp world, I bring that with me. I have always brought that with me in either talking to each of you about a case, about an issue, about something that we're working on together, or I was a plaintiff attorney for a long time, representing an injured worker through the Social Security disability system or the workers' compensation process, or whatever the issue may have been. So to me, it's part of who I am. It's part of who has made me what I am today, and I wear it on my sleeves. I bring that every single day to everything I do.
Claire, what about you?
I think it's the whole, I definitely think the upbringing has a lot to do with it. I don't know, when you think about like the isolation or just not feeling like you belong anywhere, I have said this, and I say this to my team. I say this to my students at Drake University. I can't control what goes on in your outside life, but when you're with me or you're within these walls or while you're in the work comp system with us, I can do what I can to make sure that you feel that you are valued. And so like, I love the 3 things, like tell me 3 good things since the last time we met. I always start my classrooms off with that because it sets the tone for, I have no idea what's going on in your outside world, but at least I can make you positive while you're with me. And I think that that's a huge element. Like, I have no idea what your home life is like, but at least while we're talking or while we are walking through the workers' compensation process together, you get to feel completely seen, heard, and acknowledged with whatever you're feeling. Like, help me understand what you're going through. And just to be able to have an avenue like that for someone to practice that type of empathy and understanding, that's all really anybody wants to feel like. I think that anyone just wants to feel like they belong somewhere and that someone cares. Just whoever that champion might be. It could be the adjuster. It can be, in any one of us. I remember one of the most devastating moments that I've had in my life is, so I did tell my story about being fostered to adopt last week. And I did seek out my biological parents, and we thought we had found my biological mother. And the DNA test came back literally while we were at WCI in August of 2018. And I was getting ready to go up on stage for the Alliance of Women in Workers' Compensation, and the DNA test came back and it was negative. So the family that I thought I belonged to and had spent all summer getting to know and going to lake houses with and doing that stuff, it wasn't the right family. And I remember John Williams, who was president or CEO of Franco Signor at that time, was like, look, we're here for you, but right now you got to go do your job. And then we'll talk about it afterwards, but it'll be okay. We're here for you. And that's one of those things where it's like, it doesn't matter what position you are in the workers' compensation industry. It doesn't matter really who you are. We all do come together and we are there for each other during really inopportune times. It was the most hands down one of the most devastating moments probably in the past few years, where I was like, oh my goodness, now I'm back to not knowing, like, who am I? Where did I come from? And I think a lot of adopted kids deal with that anyway, but then to think that you found the family, you get to know everybody, you get to see all the photos, and you're like, yes, I look like that. Oh, my daughter looks like that. Ah, this makes sense. And then it's like, nope, just kidding. Wrong family.
Well, that's a tough thing to learn just before you're getting up to speak in front of hundreds of people.
Yeah. It was tough, but.
So how do you compartmentalize? Because all of us have gotten up in front of people. I had a situation where my dad was put into hospice, and I ended up I was in the parking lot in Minnesota just prior to going and presenting a CE class to a large carrier there. And it was difficult news, and I cried while I was in the car, and then I kind of got my face back on, and compartmentalized and said, okay, I got my personal stuff that I'm going to deal with, similar to you, Claire. As soon as I get done with this, I got to get back on a plane. I got to get in touch with my mom. I got to do all this kind of stuff. But for this hour and a half, 2 hours, nobody's going to know that all of this other stuff is going on because I had to put my game face on. But I think in comp, we have the opportunity to not have our game face on all the time, which I think is the value of the relationships, the value of the conversations that we have, that we can be transparent and authentic. And if we're going through difficult times, to your point, John Williams, who, you didn't work for, but was a part of it, go, okay, completely understand your head is in a weird space right now, but we got something to do. Is it difficult to compartmentalize and know when to not compartmentalize, when to say, I got my game face on for work comp, and then at other times it's like, I'm going to just kind of be open kimono, and what it is what it is, and we're going to have a deep down conversation. How do y'all figure that out in the course of relationships and conversations?
I don't know, the more, honestly, the longer time, the more time I spend in this industry, the more I have the utmost respect for people who are amazing in that type of vulnerability space. And I would say like Danielle Linsbury is now CEO of MedRisk. And I think she does a fantastic job of being just herself. And so there are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days, but she's real. And I think that the more that we give respect to people being their true, authentic self, I don't know, it's just, I would rather work for people that are going to be true than give me this game face kind of BS that, okay, so it's never okay to be a real human being. Well, that defeats the purpose of being in this industry. And super secret fact, Raphael, the day that I got my first Ralphie with you, that was that same day. So when I was like, we laughed because I was very scrubbed out. Was just like, that was when I was coming down from my emotional stuff, and I got to meet Raphael for the very first time in person, and we took our very first Ralphie.
That's amazing.
But I don't know, Raphael, what do you think about that?
So I don't know when I decided, but it's a long, long time ago that I'm not going to separate who I am.
Oh man.
Thanks, Tim.
The thing is it's not even my computer. It's one of my colleagues' computers linked up to speakers that are in the studio that I'm in, and it's ringing. So sorry for that. I'm being my authentic self. I can't control
it.
It's happened to all of us more than once, you know? But I was saying that I a long time ago decided not going to separate, you know, who I am. So I have allowed myself, and you guys know me, those of you out there who know me, I am an emotional person, and I am the first one, you know. I would have cried with you, Claire, that moment you told John Williams that. I would have said, folks, give us a moment or two, right? This young lady is going through something really incredible, significant in her life. I'm that type of individual personally, and I am that type of person professionally, right? Okay. People who know me, people whom I've gotten to know, our relationship is built on that, on the ability to be open and honest and complete. And when we're happy, we celebrate. And when we're sad, we'll cry together. And when we have to solve the problem, we do, because that's part of life. And that's what makes this incredible industry so amazing for me, for all of us, is that you can allow yourself to do all of that. And I'm a perfect example that, I mean, coming from a male, right, to show emotion or to cry, all that stuff. I mean, I decided a long time ago, some folks don't like that kind of stuff, and that's okay. But this is who I am, this is who I'm going to be, and that's how I'm going to do life personally and life professionally.
And I also think that the more that I have found, and Raphael, maybe you can agree with me on this, the more I love myself and I forgive myself for every flaw and imperfection or whatnot, the easier it is. Like, it's just like, this is who I am. And this is like, the more I love myself, the more the world has responded with being like, good, then be you. And I think that when we talk about, you know, we had the Alliance put on a group earlier this year where we were doing these, master classes, and Natalie Fikes was one of the speakers. And we talked about this, where what happens if people don't like who that is? Well, then those just aren't your people. And I'll be very honest, the more people that, like, the more authentic that I am, the more I realize how many amazing people like Tim and Mark and Raphael and, you know, Bob Wilson, that those become your people. And so, yeah, your friend circles or your colleague circles shift with who you're going to talk to and share information. But the collective elevates the more that you love yourself and you share that person with other people. And that, I would say, has been my life experience up to this point. I embrace all the flaws and am just kind of along for the ride now of whatever comes next will be.
Yep, I agree with that. I want to just shout out to our audience real quick. We tend to go over 30 minutes, so please stick around with us if you can. And then, yeah, it's going to go on a little bit longer. So, Claire, you made a good point, and we talked about this a little bit in our pre kind of conversation. But just it is interesting. I tend to find myself gravitating towards people who are more their authentic self, and I respect them a little more. And to your point of I want to do business with those people. I want to work with those people, right? There is something to be said about somebody who can get up on stage and be an expert in something, right? But then you get them off stage, and if they can't have a human interaction with you, and they don't care about what you do, they don't care about the industry as a whole, they're not attached to that mission of the injured worker, even if they are extremely well versed in their whatever they're doing, their profession, and their company is respected, I tend to gravitate a little bit away from them, because they're just not. I don't feel like they're in it for the mission of the injured worker. They're not committed. They don't have the same passion as these small family groups. Do you think that? Do you find yourselves doing that? And how do we maybe turn that around a little bit, right? How do you get people to be a little bit more vulnerable, who are very well respected, but aren't really, maybe they do wear two different faces? I know it's a tough question. I don't think there is a right answer to that, but it is interesting of like, what is making people maybe not be their authentic self in this industry?
I wasn't laughing at your question. I was laughing at the dog going
The
back.
dog. Oh, I know.
Showed up at National Work Comp too, Mark. It's whenever you're around, Teddy like gravitates. He's like, "Oh, Mark's on camera again." Tim, I think you're absolutely correct. So just especially with my group and the nature of our focus and the fact that we've branded ourselves as something that is very empathic and like very caring, you're my boots on the ground for whoever we work with, whether you're our attorneys, our PBM, our DME provider, diagnostic, whatever it is, you're me. So I want to work with someone who isn't going to be two-faced and put on some salesman-y pitch and tell me what I want to hear, but then you treat our injured workers differently, because those are still our people and you're still representing me. And I think that is one of the things that when you say you're drawn to different people, I am too, because you are a direct reflection of me and what we stand for and what my collective group has worked really hard to get to. And one bad relationship or one soured, disconnect is what really can really give the industry that bad name that we were trying so hard to get away from, to change the vernacular. And so I think that when I don't have a hard time having direct conversations with people I know are being real with me. And it's never, I think, we talked about this yesterday with one of my mentors or mentees, where she's like, I'm trying to get better at direct conversations. The more authentic you are, the easier those direct conversations you can have, because it's not personal as like it's coming at you. It's how do you get better with whatever issue you're talking about. And that's where I think that the authenticity piece is really huge. And I think that when you are not in that salesman-y type role, it's just easier to have those dialogues. Raphael, what do you think?
I love that, Claire. Think about where we've been, 20, 30 years ago. There's the doggy again.
New work life.
I love it. I don't know that 30 years ago, we would be having this conversation and that it would have been acceptable. It just wasn't, right? That there was an old way of doing things. There were expectations. There was behavior. You were that professional, individual all the time. You did not allow yourself to show, feeling or show care or to show this other side of you. Maybe as you developed a personal relationship, with those colleagues, and maybe, your families got to know each other, you began to see that. But on a day-to-day professional basis, it just wasn't done. Here we are 30 years later having a conversation about allowing ourselves to do that. And you, Claire, from a buyer's perspective, expecting that, right? You don't want to do business with an individual who's going to be two-faced, who's not going to give you the real you every single time, all the time. Love that. Love that our industry has come to that. Now, not everybody's there yet, right? You're special because you really are. You have moved the needle. You have made what all of us had thought through and had hoped for, you're making it a reality. But there's a lot of folks still out there who aren't quite there yet. But I'm so hopeful that this is where the industry is moving to, and that eventually all of us will allow ourselves and the folks that we work with to be who we really are and what we, because I think it just makes us better. We can do better work when all of you is in it, right?
Yeah.
So I totally agree.
Yeah,
Well, and
go
sorry.
ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and Mark, as we've been looking at the transitions and we're looking at the different generations, we are having younger and younger generations coming in. They're themselves everywhere. I mean, you turn on any social media platform and you can figure out exactly who someone is. So to tell them that they have to turn it off and switch it, well, this is your personal life, this is your work life, that's never going to work. And they want meaning and purpose and passion. And that's what drives people, at least through the research that I have done. And they like to try and break that up. I just don't see that coming forward with Gen Y, Gen Z, the the I generation, which would be my daughter's group. It's just how would they turn it off, because they're that way in every medium possible. So to try and separate out, I don't know.
Yep.
I hope my team feels they can be their authentic selves when they come to work, or I'm not doing a good enough job as a leader to create a psychologically safe space for people to be unique.
Yeah, Chris Garland in the chat just made a point about she doesn't see the new generation being engaged in the family environment. And I was going to talk about this a little bit at being a newbie to the industry. I've only been being in the work comp space now for coming on 5 years now. And so I will tell you, it was extremely intimidating at first, because there are like pods, right? There's little cliques at these conferences. And I think that I was going to challenge everyone that's listening today, challenge you guys. The only way I became a part of the family is people taking an interest in me, right? You guys all know I am my authentic self when I'm out. I don't really have, a lot to hide either. I'm very transparent. So I think that led people to kind of taking me in and getting to know me. But for some people that's a little tough, right? And so especially if it doesn't feel like it's a safe space to be yourself. So I do challenge everyone to Chris's point of it is tough for the new generation to become a part of that family, but it's also, we have to take it upon ourselves to welcome them into that and get to know them first for that to become the new norm, I think. So.
Well, and I also think we've talked about a lot about the whole mentorship program that is somewhat obsolete. Like I'm very happy for the large companies that can say, we have a mentorship program. Okay, yeah. What about those in the impersonal ones? Like I mentor a girl from Miami and I'm in Iowa, and we meet every other week and we talk about how to push her forward, and she pushes me back, and she was newer into this space. But that's where it's on any of us in the industry. That is, if you've been here for any point in time, go take someone that's new into the industry. It is just as much on us as it is on people coming in. And I do think like Scott Yasko has a great article on this too, where he's like, okay, one, ask for a mentor, but two, hey, guess what? If you're in any type of leadership position and you're not bringing people with you, then shame on you. And you should look in the mirror to make sure that it is our job to continue to groom people to come after us. Like I would love for there to be a ton of more mini-me's. That's what I call my daughter. But just some people that want to go out there and do good things. Like you want to go do good things, and maybe that does stay in the work comp space, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you go into social work, or maybe you go into criminal justice, or you go into sociology, whatever that is. It is on us to go out there and actively make sure that people are engaged. I think it's both ways. So yeah, it can be a hard space to break in, but that's where I would challenge anyone that's a leader in this industry. Then what are you doing to go help out those new people that are in here and bring them into our family?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Thanksgiving Thanksgiving other than this year, there would be the kiddie table, and then there would be the adult table. Fortunately, I guess because I act weird, sometimes I was forced into the kiddie table. But we can't think in terms of from a comp standpoint. We talked about family and we talked about the friendships, but that clique, the pod, the fact that and that's something that I have to constantly kind of remind myself when we ever get back to conferences, is to not always gravitate towards the same people, because it's really easy to walk down the hallway and I miss over some people that, now that I'm in kind of, federal witness protection, they may not, as I'm going through that.
First of the year.
I'm going to video it. It's going to be a Cecil B. DeMille kind of event. There's going to be stuff that I'm going to recognize from meals from the past that, but anyway, but I got to challenge myself, to not gravitate and immediately run towards, Raphael and give him a hug. On my way to Raphael, I may miss 3 or 5 or 10 or 15 people that if I just made eye contact, they were trying to make eye contact with me. And so I think, it's incumbent upon everybody. I think the people that are at the kiddie table that want to be at the adult table, the people at the adult table that want to include the kiddie table, I think we just need a big kind of Knights of the Round Table, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's at the same table, regardless of whether you've been in the industry for 6 months or 600 years like Raphael and I. And how do you handle that? How do you include people so that the family is growing? And I think that's the challenge as we get back. It's a weird challenge now because we don't have in-person contact. So but I've found myself introducing a lot of Zoom meetings. A lot of people that I used to meet with personally, I've just reached out and go, hey, can we just get together on a Zoom meeting? Some of them have been talking business. Some of them is just like, what's going on with you? And,
Yep.
apart and probably will. I don't even want to talk on the phone to any people anymore. Anytime somebody wants to have a call, I immediately said, let me send a Zoom meeting. That didn't happen before March. And so I think we just need to constantly figure out how to go outside of our orbit and invite other people in so that we're sitting at a round table as opposed to 2 really long rectangular tables that some people aren't invited to.
Well, and again, I'm going to shout out to Danielle Linsbury again. Love her. She's a fantastic mentor in my world as well. But so that conference that I talked about where I had found out that that was not my family. She was a speaker also on that panel and said, 52 cups of coffee in a year, like that. If you're a leader, come on, that should be your minimum. Reach out, have that. And so we just actually did a big student women lead change group. And I said that to our students too. I was like, you guys should also have that challenge of going and asking people to have coffee with you. Do a half-hour Zoom. I don't know very many people that can't make a half-hour Zoom coffee to invest into somebody else, because look, you and I might not be a huge fit, but I might know 5 other people that I want to introduce you to. But the world is a very abundant place. And I think that people get very, stay in your lane. This is where I'm going. This is my path. Well, if you want to come sit at my table, there's always an extra seat. I will always do a coffee chat. I will help people get enamored in whatever that they want to do. And I love Mark, what you said. Yeah, I'm going to run up and hug Raphael too, and huge heartbeat. And maybe I'll stop by and a high five, but just kidding, Tim. But I also think that it's important that where we have the people that we would always go reach out to somebody that you might not, or somebody that you're not, like if I don't know someone, then walk up and just be like, hey, my mom said that when I was little, I used to do that. I'd walk up at preschool and be like, my name is Claire. Who are you? Would you like to be my friend? And to this day, I still do that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because
on both sides.
Yep, I agree. And to your point, Raphael, about the industry changing, I think even to internally, right? We do see this family growing and people being committed to this family environment, but externally, as someone who, my dad was in a workplace injury. My dad has a spinal cord injury. I was a part of the system externally for many, many years, still am. My dad hasn't worked since 2000. So the perception externally is much different, right? I still think to this day, you have some injured workers who they don't trust the system. Their family doesn't trust the system. So immediately someone gets hurt on the job, it's a negative thing, right? They look at the workers' compensation world as, well, they're trying to make sure you don't get paid what you deserve. They're not going to take care of you. And so if you start building the family internally and the passion is built within your employees, so that they are their authentic self and they have those transparent conversations to the extent that they can with the injured worker, and they build that trust early on, that changes that narrative, right? It changes that perception externally. And I think that that's something extremely important, and that's everyone should strive for, because it has changed internally. It just needs to change externally a little bit. So
yeah, and I think there's some great comments from Jeff Rush, from Todd McMullen, from Chris Garland, Donna Check kind of mentioned the same thing, is that that serving the same person, we're all serving the injured worker and helping them get back to better. That's a cohesiveness, like the DNA that is of a family. That's kind of the DNA of work comp. And if you're bought into comp, not just as a paycheck, but as an agent of change to help people in their most vulnerable point, potentially in their entire life, when they're not really sure what the present is, much less the future, if that's a common goal, that really makes family, the sense of family, a lot easier to come by. We're running, I think we literally are going to have to change this to a 45-minute advertisement. So, but any last words of wisdom? We always like to try to finish up with that final thought, that boom, drop mic moment that you want people to kind of understand from everything that we've talked about. Raphael, we'll start with you. Is there anything that you want just to kind of sum everything up that we've talked about as that final moment for everyone?
I'll follow, I think, the ideas that we've talked about here today. So for me, early on in my profession, looking at the landscape and some of the challenges, some of the things that, were not seen as professional behavior or just you couldn't do, I decided, like Claire did, I'm gonna become an advocate. I'm gonna become an academic, because I want to teach an entire industry that you can do this with heart. So I started teaching in undergraduate. I started teaching at the School of Medicine here, College of Public Health. I started teaching at the law school. I started writing, right? All of it with an attempt at softening up these older ideas and what we maybe once were, but I thought what we could be. Social determinants of health. I've been writing about it for 20, 25 years. And I hear Claire talk about what she's doing, day to day in her program today. And I think, oh my gosh, the ideas that I've been carrying around, writing about, talking about, she's making them all come to life, right? In looking at injured individuals, not just this work accident, but their entire lives. And because we know that all of their lives has an effect on this comp injury and how they recoup from it. And if they're able to put back their lives together again, or they're able to return back to work again, or heaven forbid, if they are permanently and totally disabled, and they've got to go on to Social Security, and they've got to go on to Medicare and all the other programs that are out there. So for me, it's that entire, puzzle, if you will, that I thought if I can get an industry to take a look at all of that and rediscover a way to look at claims again, man, can we do this better? And we are. It's happening. I mean, I see it every day in what Claire's doing. So keep at it. Don't give up. Keep pushing, because sooner or later, look what happens. Things do change, and they change for the better.
Perfect. And by the way, happy anniversary,
Yeah.
Raphael. It's your wedding anniversary, so.
Thank you so much.
Or
I will tell you this. I am the luckiest man alive, professionally and personally. Lisa and I met 37 years ago, and we've been married 32 years today. I don't know who I would be, what my life would be today. I owe everything I am to her. I love her more today than I ever have. I hope like her parents and grandparents, they all celebrated 50, 60, 70 years of marriage, and I hope I'm there as well. I love her. I'm the luckiest man in the world.
well, you can just we'll cut. You made her cry.
I know. I love it.
We'll just cut this piece, and you can use it for for a video gift to her. Claire, any final moments of wisdom?
Yeah, I think that every single one of us has the power and the ability to change this industry. And it's from every single interaction that we have with someone. And so, I love when people come talk to me and they say, but I'm just an adjuster. You're only the most important person in this entire industry. Mm-hmm. And so that's where, you get to effectively be the change with how you present yourself, how you act. And so, I know people are not always going to be as responsive to Raphael and we're the big squishy hearts of the industry. And I would never want to sit on the stage with anyone else besides you, Raphael, because you and I encourage that. But I also don't want to work with people that don't want to be authentic. What are you hiding? Why are you hiding? So I think that the more that we can love ourselves, it makes it easier for us to love the industry. And since this whole topic was all about having fun in a suit, it's really fun to make good things happen for other people. So when we get to make good things happen for our injured workers and they get to go embrace their child. They get to pick their child up. They get to dance with their wife when they have had a broken leg or a spinal cord injury, and they get to do things that make them come alive. That is what is fun for me in this industry.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us. I knew this was going to be a really good conversation just because y'all are who you are. I appreciate Donna mentioning that she loves the format and she loves getting to know a lot more about Raphael, or she called you Ray. So there's probably another story in there somewhere, but and Claire, wanted to let you guys know that we are going to do episode 4 on January 14th, again at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. And our guest will be Julie Featherman, who's the WCI 360 Associate Executive Director, and Wendy Gertis, who's the Executive Director for the Case Management Society of America chapter in Oklahoma. And our theme is going to be COVID conferences. So it's going to be an interesting conversation because I don't know if y'all have figured out what you're going to do in 2021 in regards to conferences, but conferences themselves are trying to figure it out. And so we've got a major national conference and then a local regional that are going to give us some thoughts on how they're approaching 2021. So hopefully you'll join us on January 14th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Tim, any final comments before we tell everybody to go away?
Just final comments. As Mark mentioned in the beginning, Claire has her own podcast that has launched, so please go check her out. Raphael is going to be launching something in January. We look at the competition as amazing because it's not competition. We like to talk about the squishy stuff, and you guys are well versed in your expertise. And there's a lot of good takeaways from your podcast, Claire. I loved the first episode, so thank you for doing that.
It only gets better.
Well, no, I truly, I think it's amazing that we have these types of things going on in the industry. So please go check them out. And as always, we appreciate everyone joining. We will put it on YouTube if anyone wants to share it or listen again. We'll have that coming to you in the next few days. So
everybody have a great holiday season. Be safe, be well, and do what you can to maintain mental health through this kind of challenging circumstance where we're not allowed to do Hanukkah or Christmas or anything like that like we normally do. So figure out a way to be squishy with friends, to be squishy with family, and to reach out proactively with them.
Our pre-call ended with myself, Mark, and Raphael all crying. So for about 10 minutes. So it's good that today didn't end like that. It did start to get a little emotional, Raphael. That was a very touching message to your wife. And so happy anniversary again from me. So thank you, everyone.
Sure.
Guys, love you all.
Take care.
Take care, man. Bye.
Bye, guys.